And this surface is actually located on the ilium, and where it comes into contact with the sacrum as well, they form a joint called the Sacroiliac Joint. And that's kind of what this auricular surface is. It's part of the Sacroiliac Joint, but on the ilium bone itself. So as we take a look at an os coxa, first I want to help us figure out right from left. So one of the first things I like to find is that acetabulum right here. That tells me there's the lateral or outside of the bone here. So we're actually looking from the outside of the bone. And then another structure that will always help you figure everything out is actually this pubic bone right here. So here's the body of it. It's a whole thing. And the pubic bone always goes to the front or the anterior side. Another thing you can also keep in mind, we'll recover this in just a moment here, is this iliac crest right here. This is always going to go to the superior or top. So once you find those three structures, you can actually figure out right from left, right off the bat. So as we look at this os coxa here, green tells us it's the outside. So we're actually looking at the outside of the bone. The purple goes to the front, red goes to the top. We are looking at a right os coxa here. So now that we've figured that out, let's go find all those features. And so I'm going to start with iliac crest, which is going to be just this top ridge that goes on top. So iliac crest sits on top of the ilium. Now, we also have our spines. So if you look where the pubic bone is sitting currently on this os coxa, going to the front, that's going to be right here. Tells us this is also the front side. That's going to help us figure out the spine. So at the very tip top, right here, this little point that is on the front side, it's above another point that is the anterior superior iliac spine. So let's highlight that. Now just below it is going to be another point right here. And so we're still on the front side. So it's still an anterior. This time it's below another point, so it's inferior, and that is called the anterior inferior iliac spine. Now on the back side, we're going to go to the opposite side. So when you're looking at it again, we are now going to go to the opposite side of that pubis bone. And so this top point right here, put that in yellow, that is going to be the posterior superior iliac spine. And then just below that, this smaller point, that is going to be the posterior inferior iliac spine. Just like so. Now looking at this view of a right os coxa, I see the pubis bone right here telling me this is still the front. Now, though, I don't see the acetabulum. So because I can't see that acetabulum, I'm going to go ahead and assume that I'm looking at the inside of the bone, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're looking at the medial side of the bone. Again, iliac crest at the top. This is still a right os coxa. We're just looking at the inside of the bone this time. We can still see all four of those spines. Again, pubis bone telling us it's the front. Here's anterior superior iliac spine. Anterior inferior iliac spine. We're going to go to the opposite side now. Here's posterior superior iliac spine. Then just below it is the posterior inferior iliac spine. And here's iliac crest again, still at the top. Now on the inside of the bone, the medial aspect, I can see this big depression called the iliac fossa. And so that's just going to be this entire depression on the medial side of the bone. Iliac fossa. And we'll just kind of stripe this so we know it's a whole thing here. You can see how it dents in, and that is the iliac fossa. We also have our auricular surface, which is just going to be right here. So kind of looks like a little ear. That's where it gets its name from. And so this is what's going to come into contact and articulate with the sacrum, forming the sacroiliac joint, called the auricular surface.